Do you find that you tend to overprotect other people, particularly people that you care about and love? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how this is a form of intolerance of uncertainty and how to let go of overprotecting people and how this can reduce your anxiety. Hi everyone! Today's video is a continuation of the video series we've been doing on challenging and overcoming intolerance of uncertainty, which is a characteristic that tends to drive and fuel excessive worry. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the manifestation of intolerance of uncertainty that's related to overprotecting other people, typically people that you care about. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist with the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about overprotecting others. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the concept of helicopter parent, the parent that's always hovering around their child, wanting to make sure that everything is okay, ensuring that their child never gets hurt, that their child's social functioning is intact, and that everything is going well in their child's life. Those all seem like noble and admirable goals, don't they? But the term helicopter parent has become somewhat critical of parents who overprotect their children, constantly hovering around them and constantly doing things for them. It's almost become kind of a derogatory term for parents who are doing too much for their children. One of the big challenges with loving and caring about another person is that you want everything to turn out well for that person. You don't want to see a loved one in pain or hurting. And so it seems quite noble and good to want to step in and help and protect them the best that you can. This is commonly seen in parents who often want the best for their children and want to protect their children from bad things happening. It's typically why you haven't heard the term helicopter older brother. But why do we do this? Why do we feel a need to take on the responsibility and care of another person, overprotecting them and doing things for them? Well, caring about people is fraught with uncertainty. It's hard to know exactly what's going on in a child's life, in your partner's life, with your best friend. And if you're uncertain that something bad could happen to them, you may feel a need or desire to want to prevent bad things from occurring. So you want to intervene to stop that. You see, this desire to want to overprotect other people or to do things for them is a variant of a prior manifestation of intolerance of uncertainty that I talked about, which is having to do everything yourself, not delegating tasks to other people. Except in the situation where you're overprotecting others or doing things for them, the tasks that you're not delegating, those tasks are the ones that would be to allow the other person to take care of themselves. So really, one way of thinking about overprotecting others or doing things for them is that it's a form of control. If you're able to do things for people you care about, then you have a sense of certainty that they're going to be okay because you've taken care of them. The moment you allow them to do things on their own, you allow them to take care of themselves, now it creates a lot of uncertainty in the situation. What if this person doesn't make the right decisions? What if they don't know enough and get themselves into a problematic situation? What if they mess this up and this aspect of their life and it has long-term consequences for them? You know what? It's easier and better if I just take care of it myself so that they'll be okay. You see, this need for control and making sure that other people you care about are okay is a common form of intolerance of uncertainty. By having some control in the situation, we have a sense that we can control the outcome, and we can make the outcome be what we want it to be. So if I want to make sure that my child gets a really great mark on their science fair project, the way that I can ensure this will happen is by doing the project for them or helping them a lot with the project. The moment I relinquish control and allow my child to do their science fair project on their own, this can trigger a lot of anxiety and worry because I don't have any say or control over the outcome. What if they procrastinate working on the project and it ends up the night before and they haven't done anything, so I have to stay up all night helping them on it? What if they make some massive errors in the science project and they get a failing mark because they messed up something that I could have helped them with? What if every other child's parent is helping out their children with their science projects, but if I don't, my child is going to stand out as having a far inferior project compared to everyone else's? So if this is the case, you might be asking, what's the harm in this? What's the harm in overprotecting people? What's so bad about helping them out and doing things for them, making sure that they're okay? Well, one of the major problems with this is that it takes up your time to be doing those things that the other person should be doing for themselves. By having to take on responsibility for doing things for your loved one, it means that you're doing additional work, therefore making you less efficient at completing the things that you need to be doing for you. The other big problem with overprotecting others or doing things for them is that you never allow the other person to develop a sense of competence or mastery in what they're doing. This is one of the big critiques of helicopter parenting. If I'm always protecting my child and doing things for them, then they'll never learn or develop a sense of confidence that they can do things by themselves, that they can do things without me having to do everything for them. Because at some point, the loved one, the person you care about, the person that you're overprotecting and doing things for, they're going to be in a situation without you to help them out. And what's going to happen in that situation? Will they have the experience to trust that they can solve the problem? Do they have the experience that they're going to effectively navigate the situation? Well, probably not. So overprotecting others or doing things for them ends up with you feeling exhausted because you're having to do so much for the other person. But at the same time, it also harms the person that you're overprotecting because they never get a chance to learn that they can do these things on their own. This is also based on the assumption that if I'm not in control, and that if I can't protect the person or do things for them, then something bad is going to happen. They're going to be irreparably hurt or harmed, and they're going to suffer because of it. Now, at a logical level, you probably know that isn't true. But as is typical the case with intolerance of uncertainty, it's not a matter of logically knowing that uncertainty doesn't always turn out negatively. It's more a problem of the person not behaving as if that's true. So, if you find yourself overprotecting others or doing things for them, what can you do about this? How can you fix this? How can you build your tolerance for uncertainty around this? Well, the first step is to recognize that this is an example of intolerance of uncertainty behavior. Recognizing that you're overprotecting others, doing things for them, and understanding that the motivation behind this is to try and eliminate uncertainty to make sure that everything is okay for your loved one, and in doing so, try to feel better yourself. Now, once you've recognized that this is intolerance of uncertainty, the idea is to think about a behavioral experiment or behavioral experiments that you can do that involve allowing the other person to take care of themselves and let go of some of the control that you've taken on as part of their life. Now, this doesn't have to be a huge, grand gesture, but it can be a small shift in behavior in which you delegate smaller tasks to the other person and see what happens. You can think about these behavioral experiments as ways of testing and evaluating the accuracy of your worry. So, for example, if I always lay out the clothes for my 10-year-old child to wear for school the next day, my behavioral experiments could be something like telling her to pick out her clothes for school the next day. Once I've done that, the next step is to think about, what do I worry is going to happen in this situation? And this is my prediction of what's going to happen when I ask my daughter to pick out her own clothes. And so it's important to think about your worries as predictions, because that's all they really are. So imagine the scenario. What might my worry predictions be in this situation? Well, I might worry that she won't do it the night before, and in the morning this is going to lead to a mad scramble to try to get everybody ready and out of the house to school on time. I might worry that she'll pick something that looks ridiculous and that the kids at school will make fun of her. I might worry that she'll pick out clothes that are dirty or stained and that the teachers might think negatively of me for not being able to supply my daughter with clean clothes. Those are my predictions of what's going to happen when I ask my 10-year-old to pick out her own clothes to go to school the next day. So we have our experiment, what I'm going to do, and we have my prediction, which is what my worry tells me is going to happen. The next step is to then engage in the behavior, asking my daughter to pick out her clothes for the next day, and then seeing what happens. This is the data collection step in the tolerating uncertainty experiment. By seeing what happens and collecting the data, I now have evidence which I can now compare to what my worry prediction was. And that's the final step, comparing what I predicted was going to happen with what actually did happen. And what this does is it gives you a sense of how accurate your worries are at predicting what's going to happen in the future. And if you're finding over and over and over and over again that what you predict was going to happen never actually happens, and what this suggests is that you're kind of terrible, or your worries are kind of terrible at predicting the future. And what this can do is to get you to start questioning how necessary it is for you to have to overprotect people in your life and to constantly do things for them. And as a result, you may be more willing to delegate tasks for them to do for themselves, letting them take on greater responsibility for their lives. And in doing so, you can be a lot more efficient in your activities because you have more time to do things for you. So these behavioral experiments around not overprotecting people you care about can be very useful and powerful in helping you overcome intolerance of uncertainty. The other thing you can do is to take advantage of all of the naturally occurring opportunities to tolerate uncertainty on a day-to-day basis. And one of the ways you can do this is by imagining the following question tattooed to the frontal lobe of your brain. And the question is, if I were more tolerant of uncertainty, what would I do in this situation? By having that question at the forefront of your mind, you're likely going to be better at recognizing and identifying the times that you're doing things for other people or trying to overprotect them. And by doing this, you're constantly building your own tolerance for uncertainty, which can lead you to feeling less worried and less anxious about your loved ones and more confident in their ability to take care of themselves, because you're constantly thinking about If I were more tolerant of uncertainty, what would I do in this situation? Well, I would let the person take care of themselves. And I'd let them take care of themselves, and I see that they can take care of themselves. And what that does is it really chips away at my worry and my fear for them. So I hope this helps explain how overprotecting people or doing things for them is a manifestation of intolerance of uncertainty. And I hope it gives you some ideas of what you can intentionally and purposefully do to take a more hands-off approach with your loved ones, allowing them to do things on their own and potentially make their own mistakes, which they can then learn from, grow from, and develop into a more confident and independent person. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.